This is the ZD Ultimate Legend. This controller works for the Switch and the PC. Comes with a pretty short USB-A to USB-C cable. You can also play it wirelessly. There's a few things here that makes this controller special. For one, this guy has 3000 Hz of polling rate. That is insane. Honestly, I really think it's overkill. I don't think we need more than 1000 Hz to be honest with you. But hey, the more the better, right? And the sticks here are TMR sticks. Word on the street is that these are actually better than Hall effect sticks. And in terms of tension, these are pretty light. You can take off the faceplate here. Look how nice this is. It's all frosted and stuff. And if for whatever reason you want to replace them, you can just pop them out. And you have different ones to choose from. Some of them have more tension than others. This is how the stick looks like. Unfortunately, you cannot switch the position of the joystick. Maybe if you want to make it symmetrical. So offset sticks are what you get. The other thing that you can take out are the buttons themselves. All you gotta do is just pull them out. And you see how they kind of fit together, right? And the reason why you want to take these out is if you play on the Switch, you prefer B to be over here and A to be over here. I prefer it this way, so I'm gonna leave it the way it is. You can also change out the D-pads as well. There's 5 of them total. We're gonna go into details about each of these in a little bit later. Now, in terms of build quality, this thing is really well built. Look, no flex whatsoever. It's got grippy handles too. It may look a little strange with all the writings and stuff, but if you hold this in your hands, you'll know that this is a quality controller. The shoulder buttons and the triggers are Xbox style, just like the rest of the controller. And I typically like this design because of the angle of the handle here. It's very comfortable. There's no bend in the wrist at all. The tension on these triggers are on the medium side. And you can also lock these as well. This is the first I've ever seen on a controller. This guy has 8, that's right, 8 extra buttons. Alright, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4 back buttons. You also have 2 extra shoulder buttons. And below the sticks here, you have 2 more buttons. All of these can be programmed to whatever you want. In terms of the switches, these are mice micro switches. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of these switches just because they are so light. They sound clicky, but they don't feel clicky, if you know what I mean. Typically, I prefer metal switches, like on the Xbox controller here. You can really feel it. Now, I've been testing this controller out for the last few weeks, and of course, the more you use it, the more you'll discover about a controller. And I finally understand now. I finally get it. Typically for the extra buttons, you can only program it to one button that already exists on the controller. However, with this guy, I discovered that you can actually map the back buttons to diagonals. So for example, I'm going to program this guy to jump forward and this guy to jump backward. Check this out. So now I press this button. Jumps forward, this one jumps backward. Now if you think about it, how is that possible if it only allows you to program one button at a time, right? So I wonder, does this controller allow you to program multiple buttons onto it at the same time? It has to be, right? Because a diagonal in itself are 2 directions at once. Now let's test that theory to see if that's true. So now I'm going to try to reprogram this guy to jump forward and kick. And this guy to jump backwards and kick. All right, let's test it out. Look at that. What do you know? Having this ability allows me to do the dive kick instantly. If you play Street Fighter 6 on a controller, you know how hard it is to pull off. What we have here actually isn't really button mapping. What this controller allows you to do is program macros on the fly onto these back buttons. Now the question is, how many inputs does it allow you to do? And it turns out this controller allows you to program 20 inputs at a time. How do I know that? Well, I manually programmed it myself. 1, 2, 19, 20, and then it stops. All right, let's replay that. Look at this. See, it's still kicking, and my hands are free. Look at that. It's gonna do that for 20 times. Now, if you pair this controller to the app, go to settings, and if you go to mapping, you can see here none of these buttons are for the extra buttons. But then if you go to macro setup, and all of a sudden you have all of these extra buttons here. Everything just makes sense now, right? And to be honest with you, I think it's great. Is it kind of cheating? Yes, but I don't care. I don't go to tournaments. This allows me to do the special moves easier. I'm all for it. So there you go. I finally understand now. For the extra buttons on this controller, you don't map them to individual buttons. You set macros to them. Alright, now let's get into the D-pads. So there's 5 of them here. On this end, you're going to have looseness. That means it's easier to do motion inputs with these. Now on this side is how tight the D-pad is. So when you do cardinal directions and you need them to be accurate, the crush shape is the way to go. And this is why D-pads are hard, right? On one hand, you want a D-pad that's good with motion inputs, but on the other hand, you also want something to be accurate in terms of cardinal directions. So where do you find a balance? Now for me, I play a lot of 3D fighters, so this crush-shaped D-pad is best for me. Because of the gaps here, I know exactly where to press. I can feel it. If I want to jump forward, press both of those. Backwards. Right? Same thing with the directions, because they're separated. Now while the gaps help you feel around the D-pad, to do motion inputs, it doesn't work as well because you're gonna have to fight through it. See that? Get stuck. Going back is a little easier, but going forward, especially with half circles or full circles, this edge right here blocks your finger. So this cross-shaped D-pad, unfortunately, is probably not good for Street Fighter 6. Oh, and I gotta say something else. Once you put this cross-shaped D-pad on, you can't take it off. There's literally no leverage. So what you're gonna need is pull out one of these pliers and then yank it off. There we go. Now on the other extreme, you get this joystick looking D-pad. Now this thing is surprisingly good for Street Fighter. This allows you to do the upper quarter circles really quickly. Look at that. Look how quick that is. Because it is a joystick, double tap is not as quick as something that you just press, right? And if you play Zangief here, this joystick is a godsend. Super easy. Look at that. Instant. The other problem with this is because it is a joystick, cardinal directions are not accurate at all. You're gonna jump accidentally a lot. You know what would be cool though to prevent that from happening? Is if there's a square gate on this, but I don't know how you would design that into a changeable module, right? So I understand. I would buy a separate controller if they have this joystick with a square gate just by itself. Now let's get into this weird looking concave D-pad. This D-pad module here, it's just horrible, honestly. I think this is the worst of them all. And the reason being is this. You see how there are these cutouts? So to do diagonals, it's really easy, right? You just go where the cutouts are. But to do straight directions, the surface area to press them is so small. So a lot of times I would drop my combo. When I want to press down, it just does down back. As you press down on this little point here, and because of the cutout, my thumb just naturally lean back. See that? You can see it right here. So it goes down, and then it just goes down back. So yeah, this thing sucks. Next we have this circular plate here. Surprisingly, this works great for both 2D and 3D fighters. Of course, because it's a flat surface, so motion inputs is a lot easier to do on this, even 720. And cardinal directions are a lot better on here than these two guys. And the reason being is just there's more surface area to press, right? So if I want to press down, you see this? Just down. It doesn't get pulled into a diagonal. The surface on this D-pad here, and also all of these, is pretty smooth. It's made of a smooth material. However, because of that, if you have a sweaty thumb like I do, it gets kind of sticky. On my ZDO Plus Excellence here, the surface on here is a little bit more matte. So with a sweaty thumb, it still glides pretty smoothly. Out of all these D-pads, I say this is probably the best one for Street Fighter. And finally, we have this guy, the diamond-shaped D-pad. Personally, I think this design here is the best for both 2D and 3D fighters. So if you want to just play with one D-pad without switching back and forth, I would recommend you use this guy. For motion inputs, it's still got a flat surface, and because of the diamond-shaped design here, you can really feel your way around to do cardinal directions accurately. So for example, if I want to do a diagonal, see, I'll just press the side. If I want to press down, I just feel the corner, press down. You see that? Very accurate. If you're trying to do circular motions on this D-pad, make sure that you hit all of the corners. If you just go like this, the down button is not going to register. See that? No down button. So you got to make sure you go all the way down and up. There we go. Now we have our down button. Let's head over to Gamepadler to take a look at the input lag. And here we are with wired. It actually goes over 3000 Hz. That's insane. We have an average latency of 1.61 milliseconds here. Super fast. Now for the dongle, it goes up to 838 Hz. That's still pretty impressive. And the average latency is about 13 milliseconds on the dongle. I say that's pretty playable. This is why you should not use your controllers on Bluetooth. It goes from almost 4000 Hz to 210 Hz. Insane. Jitter is a lot worse as well, and the average latency is about 22 milliseconds. The thing about Bluetooth is not only that it's slower, but there's a lot of interference as well, because everything around you is Bluetooth enabled. So when you game on Bluetooth, it's going to drop out. So I would say don't even bother with that. Alright, final thoughts. This is actually a pretty good controller for fighting games, and it's cheaper than the ZDO Plus Excellence. And as we just saw, this guy just blazing fast. So if speed is your priority, of course pick up this guy right away. Now if I have to pick between the two, I actually prefer the Zero Plus Excellence solely because the D-pad I feel is better. The surface here is more matte, so my finger slides around a lot easier. Whereas with this guy, it gets sticky because it's so smooth. I know that doesn't sound right, but with a smooth surface like this, when it's not matte, when you're sweaty, it just gets sticky. And between the two, I feel that the build quality is more premium on this one. I mean, look at this. How nice is this? I just love how the light reacts on the face buttons here. And also with this guy, you can buy a different module to switch the sticks to down here and move this guy up. Whereas on this one, you're stuck with this design. And by the way, if you have both, you can take this out, switch this onto here. There you go, problem solved. Now you can have the best of both worlds. You can have a fast controller and matted D-pad. How cool is that? And you know what? Only for being $99, this controller has awesome features. It's actually a little overwhelming, to be honest with you. Just with the ability to program the back buttons to anything you want, any combinations you want, it's a game changer. Alright, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like, subscribe for more, and take care now.